Dan Miller, the voice of the Lions, Fox 2 sports director, and of course you can watch us daily 2 p.m. on the Fox local app on your smart TV, your Roku, your Fire TV. Dan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. How you guys doing?
Doing great. I'll tell you, it feels like we're talking about this, that the winter has flown by thanks to the Lions. And you look up, the month of January is almost over. This is incredible.
Yeah, we're not used to this. I mean, you know, now we're usually talking about draft picks and watching other people play football. And it's nice to kind of be on the other side and see what it's like when you're playing and you're in these high leverage situations and the stakes are going up every week and you're surviving week to week. And look, credit this team, man. They've done what they had to do. They've come out, played 2 playoff games, won them both of them down the wire, both of them where every possession, every play was critical, and they have delivered. So they didn't just get there and feel good about that. They got there, they're doing some damage, and they're not done yet.
Hey, D-Mills, before I ask you the first question or talk about this game coming up, I want to tell you I was listening to, let's just say, a show that was not ours, and I heard a caller call in and say how much you meant to him. He talked about growing up and not having money to have a TV, so all he had was a radio. And the radio, all he heard was your voice. You did all the games. He said, so he hung on your every word, man. So he said you are like a god to him, and I just thought that was dope, man. You never know with the type of effect that you have when people D-Miller, you're one of the best doing it. I wanted to give you those flowers if I could.
Yeah, that's a lot. I appreciate that, Braylon. That's you know, it's you forget how long you've been doing it, and you know, sometimes I will have people come up to me and you know, they'll tell me they grew up listening to me or something like that, and I'll look at them and I'm like, well, I guess they're like 30, so they did grow up listening to me, and it's an odd feeling, but it's a privilege and it's an honor, and I couldn't be more humbled by just the support I get from Lions fans. It's unbelievable, and stories like that always hit home.
You know, and here we are, Dan, you know, in the NFC Championship game. It feels like, you know, even the coaches are at a different podium now. The podium with the NFC Championship game logo.
I saw him putting it together yesterday.
Yeah, and it's incredibly new to sit here and see all of this, because you're just not used to seeing that for the players, I guess, for Dan Campbell, for the coaching staff, I guess for the coaches, that many of them have been through this. But it feels so new to us. Do you think it feels any different to the players?
I think it feels different in that you know you're still playing and you're playing for something big. But here's the thing, and Braylon went through this. I think for the Lions, and I've had this discussion with Dan Campbell, this is the 20th game week of the season. They've had 17 game weeks in the regular season, now 3 game weeks in the playoffs. And the worst thing you can do is change a bunch of things around because all of a sudden the stakes are bigger. Look, you've been successful because of the way you've handled your business. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they're going to continue to do that. And Dan Campbell's not changing things just because it's gotten bigger. Do I think they understand it? Absolutely. I mean, you feel that. They know the number of media people they've never seen in their life, as Dan Campbell alluded to today, are showing up, and there's more microphones and more requests and all those things. So, yeah, all of that stuff makes you feel like it's different. But if you're smart, and I know Dan Campbell is, your approach and your preparation remains the same because it is what has gotten you here.
Hey, Dan, a lot of times I come on here and I talk about Ben Johnson, I talk about Jared Goff, I stick on the offense. I wonder why that is. But I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to go on defense this side and talk about Aaron Glenn. You talk about the wide receivers that have had big numbers against that secondary. But in that, he still has that bend but don't break defense. And also in the fourth quarters, seems like he's playing tremendous. Talk about the job that Aaron Glenn is doing, because I don't think he's getting enough credit. People are looking at the gaudy numbers, but they're not looking at the overall results.
No, he doesn't get enough credit, and it's an interesting thing, Braylon, because you can be in the middle of a game, you can think, man, they're getting gashed, and then you look up and they haven't given much up in terms of points. So it's a defense where sometimes the appearances don't necessarily lead you to the end result that they've got, and right now they're doing a nice job, and they've made some critical plays, and you look at some of the things that AG dialed up and some of the things that really cost the Bucs possessions in last week's game. I mean, look at the Barnes interception. He's on the line, drops back into coverage, boom, gets the pick. Look at the Aiden sack, took him out of field goal range. The Brian Branch drop for a loss of 4 in the run game, cost them a possession because it put them behind the down stick. So he is dialing things up at a critical time that allows him to be successful. And look, credit to him. And I'm not taking anything away from Ben Johnson, but look, Ben Johnson's working with the best offensive line in football, or one of the best, and weapons all over the place. And again, I'm not taking anything away because people want to, assign that to you. Ben Johnson's not working with the best defensive line in football. He's trying to piece things together. He's working with a secondary that doesn't necessarily, for much of the year, didn't look like they thought it was going to look. So credit to him. He's got him in the NFC Championship game with that defense. And you know what? You're 4 quarters from the Super Bowl now, so there's no reason to stop. But I do believe people are taking note of the fact that he's pieced this thing together and done a nice job. And even if you're giving up, huge games to Justin Jefferson, you're able to win that twice. Huge game to Puka Nacua, you're able to win that game. And then, again, last week, huge game to Evans, and you're still able to win that game. So bend but don't break is a term that we use, but if you want to see what it looks like, this is it.
Hey, Dan, I know you've been watching football a long time. You've seen a lot of great teams like me, but I've never seen a team like this rely on the rookies that they're relying on to get them to this spot. The only thing I can go back to is maybe the triplets for the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't even think they were rookies back then. This is different, man.
No, it is, and those guys obviously endured some tough times in Dallas before they got it all turned around. Look, I mean, these guys came into a team that was ascending. That certainly helps, but that doesn't answer for why these guys at the top of the draft have been able to come in and play such a big role for the Lions, but this is what they envisioned. They knew Gibbs was going to come in and play right away, and that Campbell was going to at least be in a rotation right away, and that Branch, I don't know if they saw this for Branch, because originally, look, you were looking at Sutton, whom they signed, and Mosley, whom they signed, and then C.D. Deuce, who they brought in, and Kirby, who was returning. So I don't know necessarily if they saw him as being the guy that was going to be the nickel and start from day one. The problem is he just played so well from the moment he walked in, you couldn't get him off the field. Same thing with Laporta. So, Laporta obviously in a position that was much more wide open and ready to be taken by him, but I think Branch is a guy that maybe he is a little bit ahead of schedule for where they thought he'd be, but he's just looked so good and so comfortable from day one that you couldn't sit him down. And as it turns out, with Mosley going down and CJ going down, they needed him to get in there and play, and he's been able to deliver and done that and been really, really good.
Branch, on the day he got picked, day 2, I remember watching it with my wife, and I've said this story before, and the kid waited to be brought on the stage to get his due. I told my wife then, this guy is it. And then what did he do in the first game? Pick 6 against the Chiefs. And I can't even remember, Dan, an opening week game in the NFL that could be the Super Bowl for the last game of the year. Open up with the Lions and the Chiefs, and if all things work out, it could be Lions and Chiefs to end the season.
Not gonna happen.
That's, to me, it's been a great season, man. But that's
kind
of odd.
Yeah, I haven't done my research on that, but yeah, and you know what? That was such a big win for this team, and I don't care who played or didn't play for the Chiefs. Look, you're coming off an 8-2 finish, and people are wondering, can you keep it going? And they probably didn't wonder that as much in Allen Park as people outside of it did. But to go to Kansas City and get a win, and I know they came back and lost the next week to Seattle, but it had to mean so much for these young guys to go there and put that in their back pocket and lean on that the rest of the way, because they've been really good on the road. And they're going to have to be really good on the road again this week. And to have one like that means a lot, because it shows you what you're capable of. And that's the kind of thing you're going to have to lean on this week, is the success that you've had in the past and that feeling of understanding that even though, the bulk of this stadium, and we don't know how much at this point because we've seen some crazy things, but the bulk of this stadium is going to be rooting against you, that you can find a way to get it done.
Hey, Dan, through this postseason, the Lions have not trailed, and they have 0 turnovers. What are you going to be looking for early in this one that may give you some sort of indication of how you think this one will play out?
Yeah, is 19 out there? That's going to be the first thing I look for, because obviously Debo is just an incredible player who does so much for that team. So that's something I'm looking for early. And then, Ryan, you just said it. When this team doesn't turn the ball over, they're hard to beat. when they do turn the ball over, they have problems. Just look at the record. It's right there in front of you. So I'm looking at that. Play clean, man. Don't give up possessions. Don't give them short fields or let their defense score points. And this team tends to hang in there when they don't do that. And they've done that so far in the playoffs. It's a great recipe for either winning or just hanging around so you have a chance in this league. And I think in a game like this, when you're in an environment like that, you really have to concentrate on that. It's ball security. It's everything in this league. Because when you turn it over and you give them extra possessions or points like that and flip momentum and the crowd turns on its ear, it's difficult to survive. So, man, you know the recipe for this team. Run the ball, play action, find a way not to turn it over. Don't do it. And then defensively, just hang in there, see if you can come up with a couple plays. If you get a takeaway or two, fantastic. But this team has set a pretty good track record for who they are and what it takes to be successful, and those are the things.
Dan, like Matt said, you watch a lot of football, but not only do you watch it, you know it, you break it down, you're an expert analysis of the game. What about the 49ers is the one thing that you might be worried about? I like the Lions matchup, but there are some things. What is the one thing that you're looking at, that you're paying, you're eyeing, you're pegging? This is the thing that bothers me.
Shanahan is so good at figuring out a way to beat a defense. And look, it is right now where the Lions are struggling in pass defense. It is the strength of his to be able to draw this thing up, to use McCaffrey in so many different ways, Debo if he's out there in so many different ways. And then you got Kittle, you got Ayuk. I mean, look, guys, right now, if this season ends and we talk and we say, okay, what do these guys have to do? Man, they got to figure out a better pass rush and a better way to tighten up that secondary, in particular a cornerback. You can't do that before Sunday. Yeah. So you got to figure out some way to deal with it against this 49er team that's going to throw a lot of looks at you, a lot of different, guys that can catch the football and make big plays. And we've seen at times this year where the Lions will lose coverage and guys are running open. So the biggest thing for me, Braylon, is just attacking that San Francisco offense, which is so good, so multiple, and so able to throw so many different things at you, and finding a way to get off the field without them marching up and down. This can't be like the Chargers game where they didn't, get the Chargers off the field and Justin Herbert's just going, up and down. It's hard to survive like that against that San Francisco defense. Find a way to get some stops, and that's where my eye – look, that's where my eye went against the Rams. That's where my eye went against Tampa, and that's where my eye's going this time. It's their Lions' weakness against the other team's strength, and how can you hold up?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And we hope your eyes will be on Fox 2 on Sunday. Big day for us at Fox 2, 10 a.m. Lions Game Day Live, 11:30 Inside the Pride with Danny Rogers. Then at 5 o'clock, a special edition Home Alliance pregame show. Game at 6:30, and then, of course, afterwards, your Home of Lions football postgame show. Big day on Fox 2 as well.
And who's going to be there?
Oh, you, baby! Yeah!
Besides me, who else? You're going to be there.
Brian Ermanni.
Me, baby. You know what time it is.
Hey, Ermanni, who's got it better than you?
Nobody. I keep falling.
All right, so let me ask you guys a question.
I just keep falling into better jobs.
Hold on, go ahead, going. What's he doing?
He's leaving.
Oh,
he's
Harbaugh?
leaving?
He's leaving.
I think he's leaving.
He's leaving.
Okay.
I think he's leaving if he gets a job.
Wait, he's in Atlanta today. He's in Atlanta. I don't know what the hell's going on in the NFL.
I don't either.
How many
I kind of figured if
interviews do
something
you
was
need?
going to happen, it might happen last night because it seemed like, you're knee-deep in talks.
Yeah.
If he left the showroom, that's interesting. I don't know anything. But if he left the showroom.
I think if he gets a job off like a legit everything he wants, I think all things being equal, everything he wants at Michigan, everything he wants in the NFL, I think he goes.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Hey, God bless him, man.
He did what he said he wanted to do.
I will never. I will never think. Can't thank him enough. That 3-year run, this 3-year run, has been incredible. And God bless him. Whatever he decides to do, we're all for.